Hey everyone, welcome back to the Widowed Parent Podcast Live. I'm here today with Justin Yopp from the Widowed Parent Program at the University of North Carolina. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jenny. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, actually, I should have said welcome back because you, of course, were on the show way back in, I don't know, like episode 12 or 9, maybe, something really early.
I know I'm an old timer around here.
I know. Well, and I'll encourage people to take a listen to that because you have a terrific book specifically around widowed dads, and that's a lot of what we talked about in that episode. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah,
Um, Today, a little different. Want to focus on the resources you guys are offering in your program. And so first, well, so I know I said you're at the University of North Carolina. Where are you located?
yeah. So I'm at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and I'm actually based. I'm a psychologist, and I'm based here at the Cancer Hospital, where I work with obviously men and women who have cancer, and that's really where our program for widowed parents kind of stemmed from our work here at the Cancer Hospital. That there was enough young men and women who sadly passed away, and we had come to know their spouses, that we decided that something needed to be done for those husbands and wives who had lost their spouses and were raising kids on their own, something I don't certainly need to tell you about, or many of your listeners. And it just felt like there was not nearly enough attention or resources or support for these men and women. And so that's really how we started our program. It's been a little over 10 years now.
Wow, that long.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
know,
That's
right? I
terrific.
know. I really am coming across like an old timer now, and all kinds of ways.
Well, I'm glad you've been doing this work for that long, and it's obviously very needed. And your book, you talk about how you got that program started and the first group of guys you had, and
Yeah.
it's a terrific book. I think it's applicable to any widowed parents, but especially I always tell widowed dads about your book.
Good. Yeah, we wrote it in a way that we felt like it would resonate with any widowed mom or any widowed dad. But it does center around the story of our first group of men, 7 guys who we had planned to meet with for 6 times in a support group, and ended up meeting with these guys for 4 years. And so yeah, so it tells their story, and then we weave in kind of contemporary theory and a little bit of research about bereavement and grief, and kind of how people adapt to
Mm,
life-changing tragedies. So
yeah.
yeah, we the men who told us, who were in the book and told us to write it, insisted that we use their real names, their real stories, tell their real successes, and tell their real heartbreaks. And so they're the true stars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, terrific. Good. Okay, so you also have some local programs in at UNC. You said it was Chapel Hill, right?
Yeah, Chapel Hill. So we're in
Yeah.
the tri. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, mm,
I was gonna say, yeah. So we started our support. The support group for widowed men was our first launch, and then years after that, we launched. We have a colleague who works with us here at the hospital who launched a group for widowed moms, and so we've been doing those continuously ever since. We've shifted now to virtual for obvious reasons, but that's really kind of always been and continues to be the foundation of our program. These support groups, because we have been doing this for, like I said, 10 years, and we're still learning things, and we learn from the men and the women in our support groups, as well as, of course, offer a venue and an arena for them to meet with and hear from each other. And so that's really kind of the foundation of what we do. And to be frank, when we started doing this and when we wrote the book and we launched our website, our kind of pie in the sky dream was that these support groups specific to widowed parents would kind of just crop up and launch everywhere around the country. And it hasn't quite happened to that degree that we had fantasized about, but there are some around the country that are support groups specifically for widowed moms and widowed dads. And it's just our experience that the population is so distinct and faces unique challenges that it's not just grieving your loss, but it's helping, of course, your children grieve their loss, figuring out how to be a sole parent and manage the household on your own, and then at some point looking to move forward and reimagine a new future for yourself. And that that constellation of challenges just seems to us to be unique enough to have a support group just for widowed moms and widowed dads. That's what we've been doing, and there are a handful, I'm not sure how many, but a handful of these around the country that we list on our website. So if any of your listeners out there our viewers can go on our website and kind of look for the list, and we have all their contact information there.
Mm.
Maybe one in your local area.
Awesome. Yeah, so we'll list that for sure. And I think you also have some, if somebody doesn't have one in their area and are thinking about starting one, you have some pointers and tips for how to do that.
Yeah, that's right. On our website, there's a whole tab for people who are thinking about starting a support group, whether you're a professional or whether you're, someone who's experienced this firsthand and feels like you're in a position to lead a group. We talk a little bit on the website about some mistakes we made in kind of forming this, some hard lessons that we learned, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and kind of how to put these things together. And there's really no right or wrong way. Um, and you know we have kind of shifted and evolved the way we run the groups over the years, and we try to kind of put some of those lessons in the website so people, if they want to, can at least learn from our setbacks and our successes.
Yeah, yeah, good, terrific. So let's talk a little more about specifically about your programs, and let's say before you were virtual, because presumably at some point we'll be out of the pandemic and you'll be able to go back to doing things as you were. Can you tell us what can someone expect? How often is the program, and are the children involved in any way, and what ages of people is it for?
Yeah, so we have always done it on a monthly basis. We've talked to the men and the women to see if they want to do it more often, and really, the month seems to be about right. Every month seems to be about right. You don't need me to tell you how the days and the weeknights can get filled with dinners and soccer practices and homework and everything else, and carving out one day or one night a month for it seems to work best. And the way we do it when we have in-person meetings is the fathers and mothers are welcome to bring their children. They don't have to, but they can. And if they do bring their children, then we have a separate room down the hall where we have volunteers who simply play with the kids. And it's not a kind of concurrent support group for the kids. It's really just hanging out and playing. We actually have student athletes from UNC that come and watch
Nice.
the kids. Yeah, and so we hear them like tumbling down the hall and like playing games, and they're like really active. But
So
it's not a kind of
for those
it,
parents
it,
who have younger kids then who might not be able to make it there, they've got an option.
yeah, because the last thing we wanted to do, right, was have a support group to talk about the challenges of being a widowed parent, and then ask parents to find a babysitter or leave their kids at home or whatever. I mean, that
Yeah.
seemed completely tone deaf. So yeah, we ordered pizza subs for the parents, for the kids. And it's interesting. We've had a few parents note that even though the child portion is not directly explicitly therapeutic, they think that it's good for their kids to know why they're all there, and good for the kids to know that their mom or their dad is seeking support and talking about their loss. And it's really kind of demonstrating healthy grieving without even having to say anything, right?
Mm.
It's knowing, okay, I know my dad comes and meets with all these other dads to talk about mom.
Mm.
And that's, it's really kind of healthy grieving by demonstration, not by words.
Mm-hmm.
And so we think, even though what we do with the kids is mainly just play, that there are some therapeutic aspects to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Okay, and so and I think you said you have one group for dads and a separate group for moms.
Yeah, and we've talked to them several times about would they be interested in a kind of non-gender specific group. And the truth is, I think that would work fine. But all the feedback we get is that they kind of like having it just the guys, and
Mm.
then women. And I can tell you for the men, I think a lot of that comes from this kind of sense that moms are more indispensable for their kids, and that some of these men feel like, as far as kind of what is best for their kids, that maybe the wrong parent died.
Mm.
um, and some of that coming into a group feeling a little bit unsure as it is, but being with just other guys is a little bit easier
Mm.
than having to come in and compare yourself to a mom who may do things differently, or maybe in your mind do things better. And then I think when we talk about dating and moving forward in that way, I think some of the men feel more comfortable not feeling like they have to kind of like censor themselves a little bit.
Uh,
Um, Again, I think there's a million ways to do this. If someone wanted to start a group and do one that had mothers and fathers both, I think it could work beautifully. I don't think the way we're doing it is the only way to do it. It's just the way we've done it. It's worked for us, and no one that is in our group is clamoring for a change.
mm, yeah, good. Okay, good. Well, thank you for talking about this because I think that anybody who's near you, who's watching this video, can kind of get an idea of how you guys do things, and then hopefully, check out your website and give you guys a call.
Yeah, it's really, it doesn't even, I mean, it doesn't cost that much or really cost anything other than, we pay for the pizza. Um, that's about the only thing that the only kind of overhead we have. And actually, that's what the money from the book sales goes to, mainly to buying pizza and
The pizza
subs.
fund.
Yeah,
Is there
pretty much.
is there a cost for the participants?
No, no, we don't have any, there's no cost. We don't charge. It's something, we have never even really kind of thought about that, and we're in a position where we don't have to do it. And if you're doing it once a month, it's not, it's not, there's not that much.
Mm,
It doesn't have to be that big of a commitment. And certainly there is some other kind of organizing and sending out emails and welcoming new members. That's a little more time investment, but we these men and these women who are part of our groups will tell you that it's been a crucial part of their healing is hearing from and supporting other men and women who are in their shoes. And so for the time investment that we put in is nothing compared to the benefits that these parents tell us that they receive from it. So
yeah.
um, yeah, and it's funny when the best sessions that we run, and when I say we, I mean my colleague Don Rosenstein and I who do this together. The best group meetings are the ones where we have the fewest words to offer. um, we've been doing this for 10 years, and so we kind of know a little bit about this by now, of course, but there's nothing like hearing from someone who's in your shoes and someone who knows what you're going through. And that's really, when we can just kind of sit back and the group almost runs itself, and the fathers dictate or the mothers dictate the issues to be talked about, and dictate the flow of the group. Um, it's not on autopilot, that would be an exaggeration, but it gets to be a little bit like that. And so I think that's my long way of making a pitch toward anyone who wants to start a group. It's eminently rewarding, and is very doable.
Yeah, terrific. Okay, and before we run out of time here, can you just tell us briefly about you? If for people who are not necessarily near you, you also have quite a few resources on your website. Can you tell us what you have there?
Yeah, so it's widowedparent.org, and it is we have updated and put a lot of kind of resources into it. So there's certainly guidance from kind of how to help yourself cope, how to kind of parent your children and kind of help them with their grief. We have a series of videos featuring some of the men and women who have been a part of our program, and that really stemmed from we were gonna way back when we were gonna have this frequently asked questions page, and it occurred to us that the answer to all the questions was some version of "it depends," uh, and that's not really very helpful, right? And
Uh,
so what we did was ask the mothers and the fathers for their answers to these questions. And so what you see on these videos is a variety of healthy responses, that is not just a kind of cookie cutter approach. You need to do X, Y, and Z. You need to do these things, but really you can hear from, kind of the experts in a sense who have lived this, and see that there's more than one way to handle a difficult situation.
hmm,
Uh, and so we feel like those are very helpful videos. We've been certainly received lots of feedback that they are. And so our hope is that, for any of your listeners, any of your viewers who, can find the time to go on that website, poke around a little bit and get some guidance and reassurance, and feel like maybe they're a little bit connected with others who are going through what they're going through.
yeah, good, terrific. Well, I'll put the link for sure. And then, of course, you also mentioned the page with the list of the different programs that you know of that are
Yeah.
somewhat similar to yours in other locations. And so I encourage
Yep.
people to check that out as well if
Please.
they're not near you in North Carolina. So
Yeah.
good.
I assume most of your listeners are not local to North Carolina right here, so
Probably
um,
not. It's,
probably
you've
not.
got people, I didn't look, I think there's 50 some odd countries or something of people in all 50 states.
Wow.
So,
Jenny Les, you're going worldwide.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. Well, good. And sometime I want to have you back on the show to hear about the research that you're doing.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I
we'd
know
love.
you've,
Yeah, we just finished writing and sent off a manuscript with our latest data. So yeah, that's a point we hadn't talked about much, but we have done some research because there's really just not a whole lot out there. And in order to increase funds and increase visibility within some of these
yeah,
communities, it helps to have some research. And
right.
so that's where we put part of our time and attention toward.
Yeah, and being affiliated with an academic institution and your position as a psychologist, you're able to do that kind of stuff, which is wonderful.
Yeah, and one of my colleagues, Lisa Park, is she's head up the research arm, and she's phenomenal, and has some really great. I'll say another thing. A lot of our research is on widowed parents, but we're doing a lot now with parents who have advanced illnesses, mostly cancers,
Mm,
um, and some of the challenges that they face. And there's been some more. There's been a decent amount of work in that area, but led by Lisa, we're looking at some new things. So I'll leave the cliffhanger there for the next podcast episode.
All right, sounds good. Well, Justin, thank you very much for speaking with me today. It's widowedparent.org, right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny.